Welcome to the Homilist Podcast. We are in a brand new situation right now. We've got multiple guests. This is these are the kids. These are the pastor tell-alls. I'm Jared Ellis. This is my youngest daughter, Brooklyn Ellis.
My name is Tyge Brown, and this is my oldest son, Tyge Brown.
So we want to toss a couple things in the mix here. We want to ask them a few questions, get their feedback on the way they were raised, the way they grew up, a couple of perks about being in a ministry home, a couple of downsides about being in a ministry home, and kind of interact with that just a little bit. We had a great conversation going just a second ago. We probably ought to fire some of that same conversation back out because it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. So, you want to start? You may start.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. So here's the question for me. I didn't grow up. I grew up in a Christian home, but I didn't grow up in a home that was a ministry based home to where I had to share my mom and dad with seemingly the world. There's a lot of weird conversations that you are always privy to, right? Like you get to know a lot of people's business and like you get to overhear it if I'm talking to my wife, your mother, about these things, then you hear it. You hear these things. So you know stuff about people, right? So among all the strange things that go on in a ministry home, what would you say for you is either the weirdest, the strangest, or the coolest? Like give us your perks, your pros, your cons.
We'll silence that now.
Mine's only you first.
But that was great. Okay.
I think just what we were saying earlier about the standard being so high, not even just for relationships, but like people that you surround yourself with anyways. Because like you think I grew up in a strong Christian home, like it's not going to be that hard for an influence to actually influence you. But if you're around it enough and it's a strong enough influence, like it's going to. So you have to keep that standard high.
Yeah.
And guard your heart.
Yeah. What's the last sin you committed?
That's crazy.
I'm just kidding. That's funny. No, I think that's a good point. I think it was your sister who told me one time that the hardest part about growing up in a Christian home is, or a ministry home, is no matter what you do, it's the reason you do it. If you rebel and you do something crazy, they're like, of course, you're a pastor's kid.
Oh my gosh.
But if you do something good, you're a pastor's kid, right?
Yeah.
There's something kind of wild about that, which I never even thought of, not growing up in a pastoral home. Had you ever thought about that?
No, not at all. And I like you, I have no idea what that pressure is.
Yeah.
Like the pressure that you guys have dealt with it, and probably not just pressure from other people, but pressure from us.
Oh, sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Like years ago, I knew this kid that his dad became an elder at a church, and he didn't talk to him about it. And then he asked me, he said, "Hey, I've been reading in Timothy about people that are elders." He's like, "I really feel like my dad should have talked to me about this before he did it, you know?"
Yeah. Was he saying like, because he ain't qualified?
No, he was saying because my actions can mess things up.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's
he's
good.
like,
yeah, that's good.
And I was like, "Well, you're good. Like, you're in a good place, man." Yeah. And he was like, "Yeah, but now I see this text and now I don't know, you know." And so the pressure from other people, the pressure from us, you know.
Yeah.
There's also like a pressure that we like kind of make up sometimes, maybe, where it's like maybe that's not what people are thinking, but you're thinking that's what they're thinking, and it affects what you do. When really it's like not there.
or why you do it.
Right. And like that was a con that I didn't think of where it was like I remember one time it was a Sunday school story, but like we're sitting in Sunday school and there was a question asked and I answered it. And it was like it was a pretty good answer. But I was like in junior high or something. I remember a high schooler was like, well, of course you know that. Like you're a preacher's kid. And I was like, that was my own stuff. Like that was me. Like you just missed my entire answer.
All right. So I hear it like from three sides. Like if you do something good, you're a preacher's kid. If you do something bad, you're a preacher's kid. And even if you come out with some material that's your own material, it probably belongs to your dad.
Yeah, it was like, well, your dad probably read that too. So.
Yeah, that's true. I've never thought about it. Yeah,
He gave you the answers in the way that's didn't he?
Stop doing your dad's stand up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. What else? Other downsides? Let's talk about this for a second because this is pretty fresh. So let's talk about this for just a second. Because we've had conversations, her and I've had conversations, you and I've had conversations. I know you guys have had conversations. When we talk about dating, now you got to be careful with this, all right? Like you won't throw anybody under the bus, but when you talk about dating, like there is some pressure. There's some real standards and some real pressure from us. You know,
Yeah.
So we're like, yo, you don't need to be running around no hood rats. Yo, you don't need to be running around with no bad guys. Right? Like, and so when you feel that pressure,
Which are all teenage cats, right?
yeah, which are all 15, 16-year-old boys are bad news.
Yeah.
And maybe older, but bad news, you know? And so when you feel like there's that pressure too, because it's like, look, it's like, she's cute. I want to go out with her. She likes me. I think we'd have fun together. We joked in math class. And then the question is like, does she love Jesus? It's like, dude, like, I don't know. I don't know if she does or if she doesn't. You know, is that one of the conversations you guys had? Like, does she love Jesus? Do you know she loves Jesus?
Yeah. I mean, those are conversations that we've had.
And so then when it happens, it's
when
like,
we build those standards, hey, well, what's this?
all right, so tell me this. What's it like when you're like, yeah, how am I supposed to find that new information out?
Well, that was like a thing where it's, well, where's she else found? I'm like, I don't know. That's why I was going to go hang out with her, actually, so I could, like, figure that out, you know? And they're like, well, did you do some, like, asking around? I'm like, no, I'm not trying to stir up any water before I figure it out myself.
Well, I think you also have to be careful and really think about if they were just raised in church or if they love Jesus and want to pursue that.
Yeah.
Because those are very different and that'll show very quickly.
Yeah, that's good. I don't envy you two in the current climate, you know? I mean,
Cancel culture.
Do you feel like people are honest and real with you? Knowing, just in general, just knowing what your dad does. Do you feel like people are ever like standoffish or not as transparent or not as real? Because I don't like. I promise you, for Jared and for me, I know. Like I walk up on a lot of conversations that I hear them start to change as I get closer to the conversation.
Yeah.
And I see some like, hey, you know, I'm like, what was that?
yeah.
Like, what's up? Hey, have you met my
Pastor?
Have you met my friend? He's a minister, and then everybody's like, oh, hey, you know.
Yeah, I believe in God.
They start quoting scripture.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. But I think it goes both ways. I think there's some people that are just like, will shut you right out. Like they don't want you around them because you'll start doing some digging and they don't want their stuff out there. And then I think there's some people that'll just pour their heart out to you for that reason, even if you don't want it.
Yeah. I think that like there's probably a lot of people out there that have a harder time with like preachers because they have a harder time with making other friendships like that, like what you're saying. But for me, like once people get to know me and who I am and who you guys are, mom, mom, and like they start to realize that that's not like we're not that way. We're just people. But at first it's hard because it's like right as you meet them, they have a thought about you that they wouldn't have had before. Like, oh, that's J.B. Brown, the minister at Deering Son. It's like they already have like a way that they view you now. And like I'm not like a victim here, like playing victim here at all. It's just like whenever you walk up into a conversation and they already have like thoughts about you or like assumptions about who you are or what you do, it's harder to like, I don't know, have those friendships like right as you meet them. But as you continue to grow, if they don't leave, it's easier.
Because they're either going to be really vulnerable with you and real with you, or they're going to be fake and pretend to be like more like you and pretend that they don't do anything bad. Or
Do you ever have the temptation to want to just blow their preconceived idea out of the water?
Just walking freaking.
Just be like, mother! Drop one right there. And did you ever have that feeling? You were just like,
there's
just been like, whoa, whoa, like preachers.
wherever they're like, oh, this is that preacher's kid guy. I'm like, that's how you. All right, watch this.
Yeah.
But
Did you run home and tell your mom you got beat up by a preacher's kid?
yeah, exactly. But like, there's also the thought of like bringing it up last, where it's like I meet somebody and I'll like beat around the bush about it for a minute. I catch myself. I'm like, no, my plan is to go into ministry. And like, that was something that like, I met some new people. I was on my senior trip and we were like talking to these new people and like, we brought up that we were like, I went to a Christian school and stuff, but like, we didn't really bring up a whole lot more. And then it was like, they asked the question, what are you going to do in college and what are you going to go to college for? And it was like, there's no beating around that. I either lie about it or tell them straight up, like, I'm going to go into ministry. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm going into ministry. I'm going to this college. And it was like, oh, really? Are you going to go be a missionary? Are you going to go be like, are you going to go for like across the nations and stuff? And I was like, oh, like, you're really chill about this. I did not expect that, honestly. And so like not hiding or straying away from that, I think is like the big thing. Like just being yourself authentically as a person is something that you need to do and something that I've learned I need to do. Yeah. And not trying to like blow their assumptions about you.
Yeah.
So nobody said anything about like how mean your parents are on the way to church and stuff like that. Like,
like, do you ever feel like there's a, like when people say something about being, now for you two, I think it's a different story. I think it's probably a different story. I don't know this, but you could just say it from, what's your experience growing up in a pastor's home? Like, do you feel like it's been a positive experience, a negative experience? I mean, I understand it's the only experience, but are there parts of it that you go, I got massive amounts of resentment and I'm done with this podcast and you?
I'm walking out right now.
Yeah, out of your life.
Mostly. Or have you ever thought about like your friends that are around youth group, your friends that are around school, the people that might be like, dude, your dad is so cool, you know? Yeah. Like
the high school boys is what you mean. You're talking about the high school boys that.
Well, I'm just talking, but yeah. But does it ever cross your mind? Kind of something Tyge was getting at a while ago is that their experiences maybe at home are completely different.
Yeah, we talk about that too. At the house, I'll bring different situations through and, well, can't really be mad about that because they're not having these conversations at home. Nobody's talking to them about this. Mm-hmm. Like, they want someone to talk to. They don't know that you can't say stuff like that. Mm. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You guys have pretty frank conversations at your house. Just pretty straight shooter conversation. We do too. Yeah. You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's this. Is there a little bit of confidence? Because I'm sure you do this too. Is there a little bit of a confidence that's built in you by knowing, like when he tells you, "Hey, you're doing a good job." Like you're doing a good job as a young Christian man. You're doing a good job. Because if anybody knows, it'd be him. Right. You know what I mean? Do you feel that as well?
Yeah.
That there's.
I feel it from you, but I also feel it from like other Christian women in the church. Because they're going to know more about being a high school girl than you are.
True.
So they're going to know a little more. It's not easy to be a high school girl. You're doing good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Yesterday on our way back from recording what we did yesterday, like I actually brought it up. I was like, well, thanks for saying that. Like he said I was doing decent good at something, like in a youth group or in the community or whatever. And I was like, thanks for saying that. Like, I needed that. Because it was like, there are those times where it's like, I have no idea if I'm even, like, and yes, like, if anybody would know, it would be him. It would be you guys.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you this. There is, and this will sound a little bit rough, but I know you agree. There's no one cooler to spend time with than our own family. Like we're not out spending time with people that are cooler than you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're not out spending time with people that are more fun than you. We're not out spending time with people that are uh, oftentimes not even better Christian than you. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I, this is you've experienced it, but I would think it would be a little bit different because my feet are more in student ministry dominantly,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of bumping up against that thing and realizing like, you've been a senior all this year, kind of listening to and seeing where you're at because you have done a good job with community and you've done a good job with some things that other times I felt myself have to drive,
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't had to drive those things, and it's almost been better and helped some of your peers find some community and learn some things about community that they were just already doing it instead of just seeing adults that do it and invite them into it, but they've never like they never ran it on their own, they never ran the play on their own, they never, you know and getting those reps in with some of that stuff and having some community and taking a stab at some of that stuff, because the next couple of years, that's where things can get. I mean, that like anybody that's lonely in high school, like I think it's only amplified a lot of times right after that for a minute, until some footing is gotten in jobs and careers and they kind of figure some things out, they can get a little lost there for a second. And just seeing that with you guys has been really, really cool. But then realizing like you'll be done with that. I mean, you'll still, because just like there was a time where you needed to not be involved in things,
Mm-hmm.
you know, then you're going to graduate and you won't be involved in things for a minute, you know. You'll still inadvertently be working on community and meeting with people and doing stuff,
Right.
But that's been something to kind of think through a
Mm-hmm.
little bit.
Yeah, like building those relationships where it's like, I want to be able to hang out with these people next year whenever I'm not in youth group. And like, I'll still be hanging around them, like you said, but it's not going to be because we're made to. We're not going to be made to be in the same place anymore.
Yeah.
And so figuring out how to build those relationships and really kind of like kindle that to where, especially next year, I am not in that spot where it's like, oh crap, like, where's everybody?
Yeah. I mean, because spiritually speaking, to me, one of the things that we overlook the most is what God has given us in fellowship with one another. Like it's just so so important. I mean, some might even say that like what's the essentials that people need? Food, clothing, shelter. I think if you just look at the text all over the place, the community is a close, like it's right in there, with food.
Mm-hmm.
Food might be, our community might be more important than shelter or food, or I mean shelter or clothing almost.
Well, there's a reason why
Because there's so much hope, there's so much encouragement, there's so much camaraderie. Yeah.
there's a reason why one of the most horrible punishments within the prison system is
Isolation.
solitary confinement.
Yeah.
You know, because nothing makes you pay more than being lonely. You know, like because when you're there, now here's what's crazy. That's physical, emotional, like all that. There's some people who walk around in that
out in public. You know what I mean? Just locked away from people, and that's. But yeah, I would agree with you. I always say that I think loneliness is one of the loudest voices inside us. That there's a lot of sin, and there's a lot. Well, for instance, let me tell you this, and this will be super unpopular for some people, but I think there's a whole lot of manufactured homosexuality and manufactured transgenderism that um, that part of the early onset of that, part of the
Isolation and loneliness.
oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You know, that I think there's a lot of people out there that listen. I'll do
Crying out for some community.
I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
I don't care what it takes from me. I don't care. It doesn't make any difference to me. I just want to be in a group. I just want to be with people who love me and care about me. You know. Now, unfortunately, for so many of them, what they find is that what they believe is a all accepting, wide open. Almost. It becomes their god, and it's just not true. It's just a false god.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like there's no more acceptance there than there is in any other part of the world that is not inhabited by God. The church is the only community that does what the church does. You can have all these other groups, all these other organizations, but a church that's truly leaning on the Word, listening to the Spirit, meeting regularly, submitting themselves to God, the order that God outlines in Scripture, what you find is like that is the best solution for every problem that we have. Every problem that we have. But yeah, I mean, I think the loneliness is part of it. It's a bigger conversation, I'm sure. But all right, so
That's good stuff.
most impactful moment or season that you've had with your dad, as we get ready to close out this little father son, father daughter podcast episode. Most impactful moment, season, that you've had with your dad that just solidified or galvanized you and his relationship, or where you feel like you've just thus far in life, there'll be several more, but thus far in life.
I think there's probably two moments that like I can think of like really sticking out to me, and there was one where it was a couple of years ago, and we had gotten into like some big fight or like some argument, and we were just pretty pissed off at each other about something, and it ended with me like being just super emotional and like mad at everything, and him just grabbing me and hugging me and said, "Listen, dude, I love you, and I'm gonna have to be on your butt about some things sometimes, and we're going to get in arguments again. That doesn't mean I'm not gonna ever stop loving you." And he's like, "I don't just love you, I like you." And
That's
and I was like, "That's it." That was a moment that was like,
Yeah, that's good. Well done.
Yeah. So you were
Second
at
story.
my second story.
Yeah.
All right. I think my second story was probably it's more of like light compared to the other one, but we were just driving. I think we were picking up wheels from my truck, and we went to Bartlesville, and we were just driving around for a while, and we were just talking and just being super open about like he would be super open about his past, like before he was a Christian, and we were just able to bond over that, and I think that was really cool and important. Just like
It's because we were both scared because we were rolling through Oak Park.
that's really what it was. We were just both terrified, just like we're gonna make it out of here.
Tell you who I am.
I used your toothbrush all the time. Yeah, it was that conversation. But I think that was probably my second one.
Yeah. What about you? Moments that were defining for you.
my first one. Just that time there's like no communication. It almost felt like just no airflow through the house. We were all doing our own things, getting back into the groove of the school year. And then Great Hound to Heaven got all of us real quick. And then we had a bunch of super open and honest and awful conversations. And I'd say awful. They were awful in the
Open, honest, and awful. That's pretty good.
It is.
Pretty good.
That'll make a shirt, won't it?
Pretty good.
they were awful in the moment. Like now looking back, like that shaped a lot of where I'm at now. But like now we read our Bibles together consistently. We all have a routine. We're all really good about being open and honest with each other. And then my second one, state powerlifting. I had no idea if I was going to do it or not. I had absolutely no clue in the world, one way or another.
Yeah.
Sounds like you based it up, though. Yeah.
The coolest part about that was, and it's the thing that I've said about you multiple times, that you believe me.
Yeah.
Like
I'm not asking Coach if I can do it.
Yeah, you believe me. When I tell you something, you believe me. And so here's the way it went down. We get to state powerlifting. I don't know how many kids are in how many girls are in your weight class? What, 10, 15, 20?
8 or 10.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there wasn't very many in my group.
Okay,
8
so
or 10.
at the 140
Mhm.
pound class. And so the majority of them go. 3 lifts. Each person gets 3 lifts. The majority of them go, leaving 2 people left to fight for first place in squat. It's Brooke and this other girl.
She's crazy. Clean 200 at our home meet.
She's good.
Her freshman year.
She's legit.
Clean 200.
Yeah, she rolled in with a couple coaches. Like you could tell, and she's younger.
Yeah, she'll be a junior.
Yeah, she'll be a junior.
She's a year younger than me.
And so she's crushing everything. So the only 2 people left are her and Brooke. And they're opening lifts. Like everybody else's third lift, they're done. And then they had to stack weight for these girls' opening lift. So it just so happens Brooke is the first lifter. So the way state powerlifting in general works, so you get 3 lifts, at least in Kansas. She's the opener, and so her first weight is 275.
Is that nerve-wracking being the opener? Is that like hard?
Yeah.
Oh, that seems like I feel like
Yeah.
going later would be easier after you watch.
Well, yeah, I had watched a bunch of other girls go already.
Oh, okay.
But like I hadn't started yet.
So her opening lift is higher than these other 8 or 10 girls that were there. So now it's just her and this other girl left, and neither one of them lifted yet. And so she has the opening weight. So she says 275 is going to be my opening weight. So in powerlifting, you kind of come in with a strategy on where you're going to go, like where you're going to go weight wise. And I'll tell you why that's important. She said 275. And
You have to decide that before the meet.
before the meet, what your opening lift is. And so she declares her starting weight is going to be 275. Now the most she's ever done is 285.
Mhm.
And so her opener is 275, which is a good, and you can warm up through there with the other lifters as they're doing their weights. Anybody want to warm up at 195? Anybody want to warm up at 200? Anybody want to warm up at 250? You do all your warm up stuff. But your first opening lift is, she says 275, right? So when she declares it's going to be 275, then instantly here's what happens. That other girl had said what she's going to do.
She opened it 285 at my max.
Okay. So then this is the way this goes. She goes from 275, and what she wants to do is go from 275, hit her max, her normal max, 285, and then you want to try at what?
300.
You want to try at 300. So here's what this girl does. She goes 285, and so Brooke's 275, this girl goes 285. Brooke comes in and goes 285, right?
Mhm.
This girl goes 290. Brooke goes 300.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
This is where the story happens. The move should be that Brooke goes 295.
Right.
285 to 290. 275, 285, 295.
And so they're planning on it. Like they're planning on this, and you can see they're planning on it. She jumps from 275 to 285. The next move should be, once you get into that weight, the next move should be like 5-pound increment, maybe a 10-pound increment, maybe,
But not 15.
but not 15.
Not 15.
Like that's an outrageous jump.
Yeah.
And so she comes over to me between her second and third lift. And she goes, what should I do? And I said, here's the deal. You're getting second place. And she goes, what? And I said, you're getting second place. She's going to nickel you to death. She's going to nickel you to death. It doesn't matter what you pick. She's going to go 5 pounds more than you. That's it. Like you're in second place.
Yeah.
There's only one way you beat her. There's only one way you beat her. You're going to have to take her to the deep end of the pool and drown her. Like you're going to have to take her completely out of her game and bury her. And she's like, so 275, 285, 300? And I was like, 300? So have you ever lifted 300? And she says, no.
Like,
And then she looks at me and she goes, can I do it? And I go, yeah. I have no doubt you can do it. She goes, okay. And turns and walks away. And I was like, like she believes me. Like this is great. Like she actually believes me. And so when she said 300, the other girls were like this. She turns and looks back at her coaches, and her coaches are like,
and that would have only been, she went 285. So by the time I was getting ready to start my third lift, she was going into her second.
Yeah.
So I said 300, she said 305. Failed 305.
yes.
Carry on.
Yeah. And so then when she went for her third lift, her second lift or third lift?
I went 275, she went 285. I went 285, she went, I don't know.
295.
Yeah, 295.
Because she just nickeled you.
Yeah,
Or like 290 maybe.
yeah, something like that.
Like went 290. And then so she went 290. And then it was like, okay. But Brooke said 300. And that girl's like, so she's going to try to nickel her again and go 305. Then she goes 305. So Brooke gets underneath 300 pounds. And I'm watching her. I'm like, I have no doubt that she can do it. No doubt. The problem is always from the neck up. Like when it comes to powerlifting, it's oftentimes the problem is from the neck up. Has typically rarely anything to do with the neck down. It's like, so one of the things I told her, I said, this is going to be heavy. It's going to be heavier than anything you've ever put on your back. Right? But that doesn't mean it doesn't go up. It goes up. And she goes, so it's a comma, not a period. And I go, what? I don't, what are you saying?
What?
She goes, it's a comma, not a period. And I said, explain what that means. And she goes, it's heavy, comma, I'm strong. Not it's heavy, period. It's heavy, comma, I'm strong. And I was like, I don't know much about grammar, but I can tell you that you can lift this.
Yes.
And she's like, okay. And so she gets underneath it. Squats 300. Next girl comes up. Now her team's panicking. And so she tries to nickel her, and she goes 305. But she can't pick up 305. She's never picked up 305. She's just trying to win first place. But she didn't believe it. Could she have done it? Guaranteed. Her form is better than Brooke's.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this chick's got powerlifting shoes, powerlifting coaches, like outside coaches, like her family. I can tell by what they're wearing. This is a family that's she can pick it up. She can pick it up. There's a difference between people who go, if you believe it, I believe it. Do you believe it? Yeah. Okay, then I believe it. If he tells me that something should be a certain way, here's what I do. Believe you. Believe you. It should be this way. Why? Because you said it is. And I trust you. We got enough miles, between us, like with where we've traveled. Like I believe you. Like I believe what you say. Okay, so if you say so, then we can do it. Should I do it? No, you shouldn't do it. Okay, I believe you. This girl, she's on this other side to where it's like, she didn't believe it. Everybody's telling her she can do it. She didn't believe it. She couldn't believe it. Brooke just go, can I lift it? And I said, yeah. And she goes, okay. And she just walked. Like, so it's a comma, not a period. Like, it's heavy, comma, but I'm strong.
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, that's right.
that's good.
It's heavy, comma, but I'm strong.
Where's the T-shirt?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me a shirt.
But it was a cool conversation because I kept
Well-
looking at her face and saying, listen, this is going to be heavy, okay? That doesn't mean anything. You're just going to struggle longer. It's just going to be heavier on your back. You just push harder. Like it will go up. You just have to. And she goes, okay. And she turned around and she went, this girl goes 305. Can't get 305 up.
So then 285 was the record, the state record.
Yep.
So I go 285 and
If she fails 305, that's her third lift.
mhm.
She's gone.
So then now that I've broken the state record, I get a fourth lift to see
How high?
what the new record is.
Yeah.
Oh,
Push.
also you broke the state record, so
Yeah,
that's,
broke the state record. And then you get a fourth lift to push it as high as you want to push it.
So then, well, before that though, when I went and told Coach I was going to do 300, he's like looking at you because it was like, you're here. I just walked away from you to talk to him. And he's looking at you like,
Yeah.
He's like, well, what'd your dad say? So he said I could do it. And he was like, you've never done 300. I said, yeah, I haven't. And he was like, is that a good idea? I said, yeah. And he was like, okay.
Yeah, so she walks over and I go, so what are you going to go? And she goes, 315? And I go, listen, you jumped 15 pounds from what your max is earlier. You went 285 to 300. Now you're going to jump 30 pounds in okay. Like, that's, you want to do it? Do it. She's like, can I pick it up? Yes. Yeah, you can. You're strong enough. She's like, I can. Like, you can do it. Okay. Then she turns and she goes underneath it, walks back, squats it, puts it up, and it's just like, holy crap. Like, this is crazy. Yeah, it was a cool moment.
Yeah.
It was a real cool moment.
Yeah.
Uh,
Because then there was a girl, I had like talked to you guys. She gave me my medal, went and hugged you and Mom. And then I go to get my phone to call Allie. And she's like blowing. I had like 6 texts from her, like 4 missed FaceTime calls. Like she'd already talked to this other chick that was there. Because this girl that she used to lift with texted her and was like, tell your sister she did a good job. She's a beast. And Allie was like, what did you do? Like I hadn't talked to her yet. So I called her and I talked to her.
yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
So how big of a part did your dad telling you can do it play?
In him and I's relationship? Or in just the
And
fact
picking
that...
up heavy things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been lifting for 2 years, maybe 2.5. So I have no idea, like what that rate is of what I can and can't do. I mean, like, yeah, I have a max, but the adrenaline at state powerlifting and the adrenaline in the weight room 7th hour, like those are completely different things. Like maxing out in 7th hour is not the same as trying to break a state record.
Yeah.
So, like he's not in the weight room telling me I can do this max. So, like I think that's why I've never done that.
Mm-hmm.
Like because I don't know if I can. So I'm not going to lie to myself and be like, yeah, you can.
So it's a
I don't
pretty
know
big
if you
deal.
can.
Like,
Yeah.
But think about this. I want you to remember something. And I'm not saying this to brag me up. I'm saying it because, like, you gotta, how long have I been saying you don't know what your body can do?
My 7th grade year.
Like, listen, you don't know. Like, your genetics are good.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be a stallion. You don't have any idea what your body can do. It will go places. It will go places if you push it to go there. There's wherever it is you set your eyes, your body will go there. Like, it will go there. And then to watch you go through it. Now, we had another moment early on between your junior high school or middle school and high school.
What are you talking about?
When we went through 10 weeks.
I'm not sure you know what. Just say it.
When we went through 10 weeks of warrior training.
Yeah.
And that was an important time. Maybe not for you. It was important once it was over.
Yeah.
But it was an important time for me.
How so? I mean, I agree that it was important, but Explain that to me.
Because it's really hard for men to love anything that they don't. It's really hard for them to love anything that they don't respect.
Mm.
And I know that sounds really harsh, but if you can't, for a man, if you can't respect it, it's hard to love it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not speaking in terms of love like sacrificial love, like you can love your enemy.
Right.
But I mean when it comes to your own children, maybe even your spouse, your friends, your family,
Employer.
like it's a lot easier to love something when you respect it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot easier. And at that point in your life, it was fruit snacks and Netflix.
Sure.
And I was waiting on you to grow up. And it wasn't happening. And I was like, when is she going to move? Like, you got to move forward. Like, you remember this is the same time that your sister's telling me, hey, you want to go to the gym with me? And you're like, no.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay, you want to go work out? And you're like, no. Hey, you want to go do this? And no. What grade were you in?
8th grade. No. Yeah, 8th grade.
8th grade going into 9th grade.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing somebody say, and I don't even remember where I heard it. If there's something going on in your house that you don't like, it's your fault. That's the man of the house.
Mm.
There's something going on in your house that you don't like, it's your fault. You fix it. And it was so cool because I stepped to you and I said, listen, I want you to know something. We're going to fix this. Do you remember what I told you? What I'm going to do?
No.
I'm going to turn you into
A warrior?
a warrior, but I'm going to turn you into an animal.
Oh.
Far greater than your sister.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You remember me saying,
Yeah.
she was a stud.
Yeah.
Like state record
Yeah,
holder.
because she's going into her senior year.
Yeah.
That's when.
And she was crushing some records and
Yeah.
doing good. You know?
Yeah, she's.
And she's inviting you into it, and you're like, no thanks, no thanks,
Yeah.
no thanks, no thanks. And then we embarked on 10 straight weeks through the dead of winter of boxing,
Mm-hmm.
running, cold plunges,
Mm-hmm. Assault bike.
assault bike, row machine, jiu-jitsu. Like, you punched the bag. I don't even know how many times you punched the bag in a 10-week time period. I don't know how many times you got your face punched in a 10-week period. Right?
Yeah.
Like, we went 10 straight weeks of working on, like, we're going to do this. And the punchline for me is always this. I'm waiting on you to grow up. And by the time we were done, what I found out was you were waiting on me to lead.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of ministry is that way.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that are waiting. Like, we're waiting on these things to happen. And it's like, no, let's lead her. Let's lead him to that place.
Yeah.
But we went through that.
That last day, you tried to kill me.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Lot. You just said that a lot.
Live on the podcast.
Yeah.
What was the last day?
The last day, it was a brutal workout. Brutal workout. Like, I want to break her. Like, I'm trying to break her. And she's talking through the whole workout. She's talking. Like, and I don't understand it. Like, I can't even understand what this is. And she's like, oh my gosh. Like, I'm heaving. My lungs are burning. It's 28 degrees in the garage. And I'm on the row machine, the exercise on the assault bike. We're cold plunging. We already boxed. We already did our freaking rope. Our boxing rope in the garage. We've already hit mitts. We've already hit the bag. Like, we've done everything. Like, I'm exhausted. And this is the last day. I've been waylaying her. Just waylaying her. Trying to. And she's just smiling and talking all the way through it. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? So finally we go out to the cold plunge. And she's just like, I don't know if I can do it today. And she gets in the cold plunge. She's like, I think I just threw up in my mouth. You know? And I was just like, you get your shoulders in. I'm like, you get your shoulders in. You say I'm not a warrior. You get your shoulders in. Like, and she's just like, oh, I was just like, oh my gosh. And we're just pooping and hollering. Then we get done. We go get in the sauna. And we're in the sauna and she's she's sitting over there and just real quiet for a second. It's the first time it's been quiet before workout. Like she's been ratchet jawing the whole time. And I'm like, she is so top. Like she's so much tougher than me. Like I couldn't break her. Then I realized what it was because she's sitting over there and she just goes, and I go, and I look over at her and I go, what's wrong? And she goes, and this was so awesome for me, like because this is where the respect happened. You turned and looked at me and you went, this is the greatest thing you've ever done for me. And I'm like, whip your tail in this garage for 10 straight weeks? She's like, this is the greatest thing you've ever done for me. I was like, wow. From that point forward, we had a real relationship.
Mhm.
From that point forward, I didn't just love you as a kid that belonged to me, somebody that needed love. Like I respected you. And those were the seeds of, the friendship that we have now.
Yeah.
The early growth and watching that happen, and that was a cool moment for me,
Yeah.
to watch you go to that place, to watch you push through the pain, because then after I was like, dude, she's legit. So when we're at state powerlifting and she goes, can I pick this up? Yes.
Yeah.
I have zero doubts that you can, like, I've seen you do worse. I've seen you do harder. Like, there's no doubts. Like, this is not going to be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it wasn't even a matter. It was like, listen, you've got more grit than anybody in this building. Male, female, student, lifter, judge. Like, you've got more grit. Like, I already know. Like, I've taken you to the deep end of the pool, and I've tried to drown you, and I didn't succeed. This poor girl that you're competing against stands no chance. Like, she stands no chance. That was pretty awesome to me.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome to me. So, yeah, well done. Well done. So.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for being a part of
Thanks
this.
for being willing to talk off the cuff, and
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, okay. You guys are, you're well situated. You're well situated people. You're very, I don't know, there's very many 16, 17, 18-year-old kids that can sit down and be, especially with their dads and talk through stuff on this level. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I'm good. Nothing.
Well,
1084.
1084.
1084.
1084, yeah.
1084. All right.
You want to pray it up?
That's it.
Yeah. God, we just thank you for our families. Thank you that you've entrusted us with some awesome kids, God. And I thank you for Tyge and just the things that you got in store for him, God, and the things that he's taught me, that you've taught me through him, and just awesome, God, to be able to participate in ministry together. Just thank you for that.
God, we are very appreciative. Number one, for JB and I's friendship, and to be able to sit and talk with one another about ministry, about kids, about life, about each other. Lord, thank you so much for him and his family. Lord, thank you for these two here with us, the Tyge from Brooklyn, and who they are, and who they forced us to become, and just being the people that they are. God, we are very thankful for your patience and the things that we've learned about you through these kids. Lord, I pray that you will continue to bless them, guide them, lead them, direct them. Lord, I pray that they will hear your voice clearly and that you will leave a lasting impact on our life. We love you. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Well done. Good stuff.
1084.
1084.
Black shirt gang.
Black shirt gang.
Black shirt gang.